Hey friends, I'm here today and like every Friday, I'm answering your questions about the content we had on the beginning of the week. And this week we talked about low waist. So I wanted to go through your questions that you asked and just talk about goals, all that stuff. So I have made these, we've been spending the past 3 years slowly changing things in our lifestyle. We have had to rethink so many things, and some of them feel absolutely insurmountable, especially with 2 small children, and some of them feel absolutely doable. And so I just keep looking at everything like, okay, if we take these as small little incremental changes, then we eventually can make big changes. So I went through on, I believe it was Wednesday, and talked about all the different things that we've done. There are more, but those were like the high points. And some of them we're still working on. Some of them are still things that we don't do perfect depending on the season of our life. For instance, we were a little imperfect about them when we were at the end of my pregnancy and I couldn't do as much and Mike was working full time and I was trying to finish work, and then we had a baby, and then we had a lot of guests, and it's hard to keep track of all those things. And also, I didn't want to expect our guests to go above and beyond where they already were helping us and everything. So, I think you have to just approach where you're at and do the best you can. So as I said, it's about progress. It isn't about perfection. So I want to encourage that over and over and over again, because small changes over the course of time make a huge difference. So I went through the top big things that we did over the course of the last 3 years, and I'm happy to talk about those, but none of you specifically asked questions about them. And I really want to stick to those questions that you asked. So I'm just going to go through them and talk with you guys. So the first question was your system for cleaning for cloth diapers. So we decided with the second one that we were going to do cloth diapering. I had hoped to do it with our first, but we were just too in transition. And by the time I felt like we could actually handle something new, he was not having it. So I think there is like this point where you can introduce it and it's still okay. So for our second one, we decided to introduce it after her first 4 weeks, and we had settled in a little bit more and we felt like, okay, this is something we can do. She still has no concept of like cloth diaper versus disposable diapers. So we integrated them. We had some covers from friends, and then we also purchased inserts, new ones, and we got these ones that were charcoal and bamboo because almost the whole thing could be composted down the road because it's made of natural fibers. It also kept cleaner, easier, and it was made from renewable fibers. Bamboo is very renewable, so I wanted to look for things like that when we were choosing stuff. We also had organic cotton pre-folded ones that you could put in, and those are nice. We ended up not liking them as much, so we now use them for cleaning, but that works too. But how we basically do it is, we have all the covers and the inserts, and you go through more of them per day, but we just do that. We put them all in together. We use flip covers that we got from a friend. Then we have those charcoal bamboo inserts. And then what I do is I put them in a basket, folded nicely. I do not rinse them out. I take them down once every other day, and then put them in the washer. I pre-soak for an hour, and then I wash them on warm with our detergent, which is an eco detergent, and then they do the full cycle, and I set it on like heavy in terms of the amount of soil that's in them. And so it's like an hour and a half wash, and then I dry them, and that's it. We have not had any issues. I haven't noticed anything yet. So granted, she's still 100% breastfed, so I know that there's challenges when you get into the solid food situations. But that's it. It's really simple, but if we're out and about, and we're out for long periods of time, I do use disposables, and I also use one at night. But it cuts down significantly on both what we're spending and the amount of trash that we put out. And like I've said before, we pay per bag of trash that we produce. So it's $5 for every bag. and which is, I think, a wonderful thing because it makes us very aware of what we're putting out versus like having a giant can that you fill every week and you have no concept of what you're getting rid of and how much it's costing you. So I think that it's really helpful, and that was a big deal. The next thing that some of you shared some really awesome things that you're doing yourself, which I loved. Like a lot of you looking to shop local, so to lower carbon emissions and transportation costs, switching to natural cleaners, using cloth wipes and eco-friendly bathroom products, and having a garden, all really good. Okay, somebody asked what we use for trash bags, and this is one that I have not looked into, to be really honest. We currently just use like the normal ones. It is one on my list that I would really like to work on. So if anybody has any recommendations, I would love to know. Like I said, we're really conscious of what we put out, and talking more about that as I answer some of your questions, but I don't have an answer for that one. We just use the ones from Costco. We buy one box a year, and that usually does it. Sometimes we use one box in a year and a half. But I know it's not great. So any recommendations would be welcome. Okay, so somebody said, how do you compost in the winter? Is it possible to start now? So this is really complicated depending on where you live. And I say complicated because winter, it's cold. Compost happens with heat and, all those materials. It's like the science. And so we have a compost pile that we actually use near our garden, and we put all of our leftover garden materials, the tops cut off of things, or, things that didn't go right that we ripped out, we added in there. We put food scraps in the summer, and then we cover it with a tarp with rocks, and, you're gonna get some vermin, you're gonna get some things like that, but for the most part, it's all part of the process in my mind. And we even had it too bad I think our dogs are worse than the raccoons or skunks, but for the most part, that works, but it's very hard in the winter because it doesn't have enough heat, and it's covered by the snow. Even with the tarp on it, I find that it's not producing enough heat this time of year, like I would have hoped. And our tumbler is frozen, so it's very hard to compost in the winter. And we went through this phase where we didn't really compost much and it was really hard on me because I enjoy the composting process. But then I had a friend who suggested that we actually start vermiculture in our basement. So if you've been following my stories, we actually started doing this. And so this is really great if you have a small space, you don't have a yard. You can even do it in a hallway, like a mudroom space. You don't even need a basement. You just need a space that's maintaining a heat between 40 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's it. And it's really simple. You can go on Uncle Jim's worm farm, and I would suggest that for everyone. And don't be freaked out by the worms. It's not gonna smell if you do it properly. It takes some maintenance of like watering it, nothing more than plants, but it's a great adventure, especially if you have kids. I keep finding Hayes down there with a worm in his hand. But it's really fun, and it's easy for everyone. And it's very, very simple for people that live in cities and you don't have options in composting within your city limits. So I highly suggest it, and it works great for anyone, especially in the winter. So start looking into it. I will be doing more information on it as I learn. I'm still learning, so I don't feel like I have the right to talk about it just yet, but I wanted to let you know that's what we're doing. So seeking ways to implement eco-friendly habits that work for city apartment living. I love that. There's so many things. I think just the idea of single-use plastic, reusable things, all those things make a big difference. And it doesn't matter where you live, what kind of lifestyle you have. You can implement any of those things, buying the right products and materials. And I think look at the big picture of like where the big carbon emissions are and what the most harmful things are to the earth. Those are the amount of plastics we produce or that we're putting out in single use. Particularly, plastic isn't bad in general, but what's really bad is how we use it. So the problem isn't the plastic, the problem is the human that uses it. So just keep that in mind, and how can I make the most out of the plastic I do have and it is in my life. I still use plastic for certain things. In fact, my brother is a plastics engineer, so we talk about plastics a lot in our house, and I've learned a ton from him. But I highly suggest just making the most out of what you have, and that's a good place to start. Somebody asked, resources for garden planning, maximizing small spaces for urban gardening. I am going to be talking about this in March as we release an ebook about this. So it's something, we've done our own small space gardening, and, we have our garden boxes, which is in those spaces, I make the most use out of them as I possibly can. And because we don't have a larger field just yet, even though we live on 10 acres. So I will be talking about that, and I have lots of information about that. So just look for the ebook in March. Somebody said, thank you for this. Can get overwhelmed by this, makes it more manageable. Yes, progress. Remember that. Just making progress is a big deal. Okay, cutting down on driving while living rural, I'm not going to say that word right, is our current challenge. Any suggestions? This is hard. I mean, we live outside of town. We live 15 minutes from Traverse City, 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes 30, depending on the time of year. And we are 20 to 25 minutes from Hayes' school. So we definitely drive. I think when we were purchasing a new vehicle, we looked into a lot of things, but unfortunately we had to buy a 4-wheel drive vehicle that could basically climb through rock and everything, because if you've been on our driveway or a road this time of year, you know that it can be quite a challenge. You might be driving through 2 feet of snow. So we couldn't be as eco as we really wanted to with this. We really hope that the car world changes over time, but the best thing to do is to think about your travel. So Mike and I, we really only leave the house, we do drop off and then we do pick up. And we have a Subaru Outback that's used. It's almost 11 years old. And so we didn't produce a new vehicle when we bought that one. And it saved us a ton of money, but it's really good on gas mileage for a all-wheel drive vehicle. So we really try to make the most out of that. And it's not perfect, but it's definitely a great option. So we try to drive that vehicle as much as we possibly can. And that helps, I think. But then also if one of us goes, if there's any errand on the list, it all gets done right then. And that's it. And we just try to make one big trips every time that we do a trip. And I think that's as much as you can do. We do have the option for Mike could drive me down to the bike trail and I could bike into town. If you have those kind of options, I would say definitely take them as much as you possibly can. So just try to think through it. Make a plan. We go to the grocery store once a week and we make a plan with it. If you have appointments, try to make all the appointments in one day. It's a lot, but just try to get it all done in one swoop. That's kind of how we look at it. Personal care products. So I am about to venture into this a little bit more. I have not tried the cups and all of that. I wanted to get through this pregnancy and through this stage of life and then go for it. Everybody says it's super easy. I'm still a little nervous about it, but I do want to try that. One thing is I don't use any wipes or things like that for my face. I use you don't need those things, to be honest. All you need is I got some organic towels, like hand towels, and I just use those for makeup removal. And soap and water does a lot in removing that stuff from those towels, and then they don't stain because I got them in a darker color and they wear really nice. They do everything I need it to do. They exfoliate slightly. And then in terms of washing my face, I use a soap bar that is handmade locally, and I know all the ingredients. It's really good for my skin. There's no waste, and I have really limited that down. We also use a tushy in our bathroom, which is basically a bidet, and that helps with the toilet paper situation. But we also use bamboo toilet paper, and for our guests and for the rest of our house. I don't know if our guests love it. Our parents, I think, don't when they come to visit, but it is more eco-friendly. Everything that, all the waste of it, like it all comes in paper wrap that can be recyclable. It is recyclable, and so is the roll itself. There's no like printing or like anything that makes it unrecyclable. It's really nice, and I highly suggest that. It's also, you know, bamboo's a renewable resource and it grows super fast. So those are kind of some of the ways. I'm going to be talking about my makeup and skincare routine because I've really cut down, one, on the amount of makeup I wear, so I'm not producing as much plastic, because as much as I've tried, the plastic amount in our makeup, skincare stuff is so extreme, and I don't know how to counter that much yet. So I've just kind of figured, okay, less is more. I'm going to focus on making my skin as good as possible so that I need less makeup. And that's kind of been my process of going through personal care products, especially when it comes to makeup. But I'll be talking about more of that in the next few months. Somebody else asked about the apartment garden. Good news, ebook's coming. I'm curious about cleaning products. Do they clean really well? So I talked about how we use Bronner's white vinegar. I also use Bronner's as a, I would say like a more intense cleaner called South Suds, and it's completely biodegradable. It's amazing. You can use it in concentrated form, or you can use it as a spray by diluting it into a spray bottle. So we have a spray bottle that has Bronner's in it and water, and then we have one that has white vinegar and water, and then essential oils in there of our choice, and then I also have one that has South Suds in it. So I keep all these. They clean amazing. We clean our shower tile, and we have hard water. We clean our stove in them. We clean our stainless steel in it. Like all these different things. So pretty much, I'm going to do a post about this because I keep getting asked about it. But pretty much the Bronner's is used for daily cleaning, just like the normal stuff, you know, the table, it's just an average like thing, you know. And then I use the white vinegar for our glass, stainless steel, stuff like that. It works incredible, like really shockingly good. And if you don't like the smell of vinegar, just toss in some lemon, like fresh squeezed lemon, or like lemon essential oil, whatever you want. And then for the South Suds, I use it for harder spots on our counters. And then if I have a stain on our counters, I just pour some of the concentrate onto that stain, onto our quartz countertops, and it just like gets it out. It's insane. And it's completely biodegradable. Another one that's tougher, if you want something that's going to be tougher but still biodegradable, is Bon Ami. You can find it, it's like $1. It's super cheap, but it's basically minerals, and it does a great job of cleaning as well if you have a lot of hard water stains or things like that. But like I said, it is shocking. And so when I started doing all this, I was skeptical, because I'm like, okay, why are all these companies making these products if I can just do this? Like, this is insane. And not only have we probably saved about $50 a year on just not having these excessive cleaning products, but we also, like, our house is clean. It's not like we don't have all these random bottles all over the house that I'm worried about my kids getting into. I mean, if my kids get into this stuff, it's literally plants, and I'm really not freaked out about it. Like I said, though, we're still trying to figure out laundry detergent, and I'm doing a lot of testing right now if you follow my Instagram stories. And then I'm also trying to figure out a dishwasher. And that is the one thing to me that I am still perplexed by. So and where we still have plastic use, but it's amazing if you just buy some bottles. And if you're worried about more plastic because you're buying those Bronner's, all you have to do is just buy a big bulk one, and then, you know, it'll probably take you 2 to 3 years to go through that. So if you think about number of bottles you were producing to like one over the course of 2 or 3 years, it's pretty insane. So just try it. I highly suggest it. It's not gonna, like, buy a small container if you're worried about it, or you see if your friend has some, and just give it a go. Like, literally all you need is a tablespoon and some hot water in a spray bottle. It goes a long way. It will blow your mind. Okay, somebody asked about the really solid shower cleaner for well water. Sal suds will do it. White vinegar and baking soda is absolutely incredible on your tile, like on your grout. It is mind-blowing. Also get a really good tile brush. It does a lot too. Don't just use a cloth. Like we got like a really nice tile brush, and it works really well. Like even if we're in the shower, sometimes I'll just like take the spray in there with me and like spray it, scrub, and then rinse everything out while I take a shower. And it works really well too. How to organize pantry to be eco-friendly and efficient. I am gonna go through my pantry one day, I promise. It is full of glass containers with lots of dry goods in them. I highly suggest finding a place where you can purchase bulk things that you can like pull down, put them in a sack, like a cotton sack, and bring them home. One, you usually get a discount at most stores for bringing them, like, I think you get 10 cents a bag or something in our co-op. But then you also can just put them in the glass containers when you get home. So you don't have to take all those glass containers to the store and have them all teared and everything. Just get some good like flour sack container, like bags, and take them with you. And I just keep the same sticker on them, like, so I know, and write the name of that thing. So it's like, okay, this is for sunflower seeds. This is, you know, that's the best way to go. You can also make your own bags. I've not done this yet, but it's on my list, and because we need a few more, and I have plenty of fabric to do it. Like just muslin, cotton muslin will do a lot of good. And then I'm trying to think what else would be really good, but definitely the glass jars, and you don't have to buy new ones. If you want it to look pretty, yeah, you're gonna have to buy new ones, but you can just use ball jars or like leftover jars from buying pasta sauce or anything, olives. You can use all that stuff. So don't feel like you need to go buy more stuff in order to do this. We've kind of collected our stuff over the years. You can also usually find really good stuff at resale stores or like Goodwill. People get rid of that stuff, and you can usually buy new plastic seals. So I really suggest doing that. And yeah, and if I do get plastic in the bulk section, I usually save it and reuse it until it's just dead. Like I can't do anything else with it. And because there have been a few times I've done that. But for the most part, it will literally save you money to be buying in bulk. And then especially with like dried beans and stuff like that. And all you need is an Instant Pot. And those dried beans are done like that. In 20 minutes, you'll have your dried beans completely ready to eat. And so between an Instant Pot and all the dried stuff you can get in a bulk section, it's amazing what you can do. So you just gotta be intentional and plan ahead. That's the big thing. And I know that takes time, but you know, we're all busy. We can figure it out though. Little by little, it makes a big change. Just try your beans one month. It's incredible. So, okay, can you recommend a good brand for reusable plastic bags? Yes, Stasher. Just like go and invest. I buy them now for like every single one of my friends who's having a baby, because for snacks, for food, for, you know, toting around clean pacifiers, those Stasher bags are like God's gift. And because my brother is a plastics engineer, he informed me that silicone is a really great thing. The one downside is that it does hold scents and smells. So it's gonna, you know, you just gotta be careful. Like don't store tomatoes in them. Store tomatoes in glass jars. Don't store things that have an intense smell. The things I usually store in them in the freezer are like fresh berries, or I'll put broth sometimes, but only broth that I haven't put a ton of herbs into. I will also store like our veggies scraps that we're gonna put into broth and stuff like that. So, which that's another great way for your pantry. Don't buy broth, make your own. An Instant Pot will help you with that. Once again, Instant Pot, yeah. It is incredible. So it's the best eco-friendly tool you can put in your house right now if you're trying to, one, save money and like be more resourceful with what you do have. So another whole post is coming. It's on my list. Don't you worry. So that is all of your answers to your questions this month or this week. And You've given me lots of ideas of what we need to talk about in this year and how I can help you guys. So I'm really excited to go on this journey with you. I've learned so much from you so far, and I cannot wait to keep sharing things that I've learned from you guys with each other and really help each other make this possible and not make it feel like it's this over the top, hard to accomplish thing as somebody who's busy with work or busy with kids or just busy. Like, we're all busy. So it's possible, let me tell you. And if you're not perfect, if you fail one month or you forgot your bags one time, it's going to be okay. But, it's just about trying to do your best wherever you can, from clothing to food to whatever. Maybe just tackle one area of those things this year. Like, what can you do with your clothes? What can you do with your food that might make it better? All those things. I mean, for us, we're trying to eliminate more of the single-use plastic that comes into our house from food and things like that. Even if we are buying in bulk, there's still, it's amazing when you look at certain things. And some plastic's unavoidable. Like, if you buy your meat at the store, it's kind of unavoidable. I don't know how else they would do it. Even if you buy it from a butcher, you still get it wrapped in plastic. So, in some ways. So, it's a trip. Though I did see, if you are interested in some great accounts, Alana Lou is really great. And I will link all these below. And so is Andrea Bemis from Tumbleweed Farm. Her and I talk about stuff all the time. She's talked about how to store bread when you get it from the bakery. She actually started going to a butcher and getting her meat in glass containers like that she brought. And they did it for her. So I think you just got to think about how you got to think in new ways. You got to look at this and get really smart. And it's not an easy thing, and it takes a lot of mental energy, but what we're doing is we're breaking old systems in order to start new ones. And it really is the way that we have to think about life. We have to be more resourceful. We have to be more thoughtful about our purchases, about how we purchase things, where we purchase things, everything. It's a lot, but don't feel overwhelmed. Just take it one little thing at a time, and don't feel bad if you're doing something in another area that you wish you weren't. Don't feel bad about it. Don't feel guilty about it. Just start making a plan of how it can change and taking note of how it can change. And then it will over time. So it just takes time to make big changes in our life. So take them little by little. Okay, we'll catch you next week. Thanks, guys.